Bonjour! Welcome to the BitCoin RoadShow. That accent was fucking terrible. But I'm in La France with the shmoo. There he goes. So, back to me. I didn't take many videos, BitCoin RoadShow videos, because I've been doing a lot of work on a crypto project, and that's probably going to be continuing. But I'm gonna be, because I'm traveling around so many places. I'm on my way east now. I go back to Palma after I finish a whole bunch of in Mallorca after I finish a whole bunch of stuff that I've got to do. Got to meet up with some friends and things. But anyway, the most important thing is, got Bitcoin? Do you got any more lately? Do you buy any more? Are you adding it up? Are you sorting your future life out instead of living an existence of system slavery? On saying it in the Red Pill Diary videos, but it's true. People are living like slaves. You need to stop doing it. Well, actually, you don't need to stop doing it. They can carry on living like slaves if they want. And that's kind of the point, I think, that your slave masters make, is that they're happy being slaves. You know? I don't think people really are. I just think that a lot of people don't really realize. I think that when they're shown, they end up not believing that you know, that they can be fooled so easily. So Rumble's acting like he's a cow here. Rumble, Staffordshire Bull Terrier, not bull. Stop eating the grass. But it's just so nice and lovely. So in the last few days, I had a really bad one. I've been trying to get my dad into Bitcoin for a long time. My stepmom actually bought a long time ago when it was $600. Finally took the plunge, and I was like, yeah, good on you. And then went up to 10 and 20 grand, and she was like, woohoo. And then it was like, well, do we sell out at that stage? And I said, well, you know, I don't sell out of it. I just stay in it. But if you want to, just, you know, you could. And she said, no, I'm in it for the long haul. And I liked that answer. It was really good. She stayed with it up, down, and it's coming up again, and it will go up and beyond. My guess is somewhere between the peak of the next bull market will be somewhere between 65 and 100k. Although others like John McAfee think it will go up to 1 million by 2020. I'm not so sure. I think there's too many manipulation controls in place for that to happen quite yet. Although all it takes is a few triggers at the same time, like a global real estate crash coupled with global fiat currency collapse triggered by things like China. And other countries that don't have to, countries that are big enough that don't have to bow down to America's bullshit, basically. Those countries do have the power to change the financial structure, although they don't all want Bitcoin, although Russia has been buying it. And I'm sure, and I know that, you know, Chinese people have been mining it, or companies in China. So, you know, the government will probably confiscate that when they feel like it, or sending people to death. Who knows? All the large, very fascist countries and you know, whatever, crony capitalist America with its ridiculous amount of rules, communist China with its ridiculous amount of rules, what do we call it in the UK? You've got a mixture of also crony capitalism, but not as bad as America, with rampant libtardation and socialism gone mad, because socialism should not be used as a crutch for everyone who's completely able-bodied. It should be there as a safety net. And that's where certain levels of socialism start to become as bad as crony capitalism, how it veers off of capitalism, which is nothing wrong with capitalism, as long as you don't have laws to protect capitalists so they can do whatever the fuck they want, which is that when crony capitalism comes in, which is why you have the situation in America having the shittest internet. I'm in the middle of a field here. I don't want to come off the app in case it stops the video, but almost everywhere I've gone in France, I've had at least 15 meg download, usually around about 30 meg, and it's about 30 meg up. It's weird, it's not asynchronous, it's the same speed up and down, or sometimes faster, like this morning when I was on a call to a guy in New York, one of the developers, and he was like, oh, yeah, maybe it's your internet speed. No, look at this, I showed him on the screen. So those things are caused by crony capitalism. As I say, England's not quite as bad, but England itself, which rules the whole UK, don't make any bones about it, the UK doesn't rule itself. The UK is ruled by England, for England, serving England, and not even all of England, just the City of London, and then the trickle-down effect to the elite friends of the City of London. So your people that are basically based out of Guernsey, Jersey, and all these sort of things, the sort of places where, you need to look towards to see how the wealthy do things in order to copy what they do. Never do what they say, do what they do. And you will be more successful in life, because this is how these assholes rig the system against you. This is how people like Donald Trump, who is not on your side, don't be a fucking retard, just like Hillary Clinton's not on your side, no one from the left or right, Bernie Sanders even, he's not on your side either, none of them are. The only person who comes close to possibly being on your side and working within a completely fucked up system in America to actually fix things might be Tulsi Gabbard, but it only takes a few threats to people's family or killing their dog, and they just fall in line, you know. You need to have people who are quite wealthy and not self-serving, and that's hard to find because human nature are, and unfortunately is, most people are horrible people, and that's not their fault necessarily. We have systems that have been designed over years, not by the smartest of people, it doesn't have to be, but they're systems designed to keep certain people where they are in their position of power, so that nepotism can have its greatest effect, so the world can have more and more slaves, and these people just get richer and richer. The super rich get super richer. You need to join them somehow as the only way out, because you can't change the world. Unfortunately, I've tried. I've tried and failed, so don't you bother. I don't mean that. What I mean is, I can see the effort that's been required to change and wake a few people up, even just red pill or black pill a few people. Take that to the next level. It's almost impossible. And my career has been explaining things to people and moving projects along by being a good communicator. If some people just don't want to believe, some people, and when I say believe, I don't mean have faith. I mean they don't want to look at facts. They don't want to see the reality of what's around them, and they're also quite hurt. I mean, there's a denial phase you go through when you first red pill people. When they first red pill themselves, you don't do it for anyone. It's like, say, you lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. It's the same with red pilling people, waking them up. You have to just look at the obvious shit all around you, because once you wake up to it and you see how obvious everything is, you think, how the hell did I not see it? How did I not act upon this sooner? How did I knowingly take part in a system which treats me like a piece of meat, like a cattle? A system that is predatory and, it's parasitic by its very nature. And all it is a reiteration of previous systems we had, whether it be emperor and people working where their last name tells them they should be working as, whatever, Smith or whatever, you're a blacksmith. And then moving into, you get to choose your own career. Oh, you're not a slave anymore, but you still are, because he's still eating grass, he's going to be puking up. You're forced into a situation. Well, you're not forced into it. You choose to follow a path that prevents you from learning your dreams. And this collectively is why we're not gallivanting through the stars. This is why we're not there yet. This is why people like Elon Musk seem profoundly, dynamic and forward thinking, when he's actually not. He's just a standard average dude who now has access to stuff. Probably say over average intelligence, but by no means an uber genius, And the thing is, if we were all working to our optimum, even if people were doing stuff all just making the best cheese or making the best house, if we were all working at our optimum, doing what we wanted to do, having the freedom of what we wanted to do, without governments telling us, yes, no, jump this high, Simon didn't say, you can't do that, you know what I mean? That's what it becomes like, getting ridiculous fines because they decide that you parked in a place too long the other night. I just got one through in Great Shitton from England, which, is going to happen, because just the way the system's designed is to effectively ensnare you constantly, to stealth tax you on top of taxing you. America's obviously the same. Almost every country's the same. I'm not picking on America here. Most of these countries are a fucking mess, and they're a mess for the same reason, because they have governments. They were a mess before and were held back for God knows, possibly thousands of years, but at least hundreds of years in their development, because of the church or the synagogue or the mosque. having control of their state. They were previously held back because of you know, the emperor and the king wanting their pound of flesh, or to screw your missus because she was the hottest woman in the village, and oh, I like a bit of her. Oh, I think I'll design a crime where like one of these guys on YouTube said, handling a salmon suspiciously in the city of London, I think. That's the elite enclave in London that protects them. It's effectively a separate legal entity in the city. But these are the sort of thing I'm talking about. These bullshit laws, you can see how ridiculous our laws are today, even if you are a blue-pilled moron who won't accept the reality around them. You can see how ridiculous stuff is today by looking at the ridiculousness of the past and seeing the same things that the church put in, the Pope put in, you know, whatever the fuck it was, whatever power structure it was. You can see what they put in place. So therefore you can judge that things don't actually change, you know, things are the same. Got my curtain stuff up here, still haven't done the floors yet, and did most of the bathroom, but still have to do the floor. But other than that, just have a quick walk around here. Is it okay, Rumble? Can we pass? Yeah, good. There you go, put a couple of curtains up so we can have people not looking in at night time. I work from here. Actually found it's comfortable to sit there with my arm up here and plug into the TV. 46 inch, so it's decent size, so I can see all my windows open. And yeah, anyway, so at the moment I've got 6 beds. I don't need them all, but I've got a meet up with some friends in Austria. That's where I'm going to at the moment, and then we're going to Tel Aviv for my friend's birthday. Got some sounds here from years ago. I used to DJ years ago. Yeah, so that's that. Anyway, back to the thing. So yeah, you look at the past to tell where we're going wrong right now. I think it's blindingly obvious where we're at, and that is the elite are self-serving. Don't follow them. The same way a bird is born and gets to go wherever the fuck it wants to do, doesn't have to fill in a 4139A/7 form and apply to its local council to build a fucking nest, you shouldn't have to either. These motherfuckers should not own the world, and they don't own the world. You allow them to. You give the world to them by being a subservient moron. What I'm doing right now, and I don't mean you personally, I just mean yeah in general. We, effectively, the collective royal we. What I'm doing right now is I'm attempting to. We'll see if which fascist government acts first. What I'm attempting to do is live outside the system like a true anarcho-capitalist, and effectively get to a certain stage. Hopefully I can build wealth to a certain amount, and I can do companies that don't just, it's not just about self-serving, it's about changing the world to fuck things for the banks as much as possible, while providing what people really want, which is freedom and the ability to communicate and trade globally without the interference and hindrance from the government. It's quite funny if you look at the British passport, which a friend of mine, Almay, always points out something quite interesting here that I never really noticed when I looked at my passport. And it's kind of, I don't know, see what you make of this. The front page of your British passport, I'm collecting passports here, but that's another way how you get free, is if you can't have a world passport or no passport at all like there was 150 years ago, then try to collect as many as you can. It says, Her Britannic Majesty's Secretary of State requests and requires in the name of Her Majesty all those whom it may concern to allow the bearer to pass freely without let or hindrance. So when a pig pulls you over and you're on your way somewhere, and you're not doing that, but you just don't, you touched your mobile phone because we implemented a new rule. We keep on implementing new rules. New Zealand implemented new rules recently because of knee-jerk reaction because of a shooting that went on, and that's somehow there. This is why people come up with, even though that might not be a false flag, it definitely happened, because I've spent half my life in New Zealand and know a shitload of people there. It definitely happened. This guy, I mean, he seems to have ties to weird places that just arouse major suspicion. and certain things that he did almost look like, you know, when there's a smorgasbord of evidence, when the story looks like it's leading you somewhere instead of you having to actually join the dots together, as that one did, you have to question where the hell the agenda came from. All right. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say on that one, because I don't know. And that's another thing, conspiracy theorists, don't talk shit that you don't know. Theorize and say it may be, but until you actually have some kind of solid answer, don't spout shit. Right. Anyway, they're not allowed to hinder me by law. It says it in here. Why doesn't this override that bullshit laws that get made? Anyway, that's my point, really. They're contradictory. The whole system is contradictory, and that's because it's full of shit. And they're not that. The elite are not that smart. They're not that smart. All you got to do is decide not to give them power, and effectively, at some stage, you need to overpower them to relinquish the power which they have, which is the capital which they have gained through skullduggery and thievery and implementing laws which favor them and their friends. Right? This is quite fucking obvious if you look all around the world and you look at the wealth disparity, the growing wealth disparity. And yet we've got infinite wealth all around us in the universe, unless you believe in the flat Earth theory, then fuck knows what you believe is out there. I mean, if it is a flat Earth and it's a dome, then what's beyond the dome? I mean, you still hit into the same arguments. This is why those arguments, I don't know if it's flat or it's round or anything until I get in a spaceship and see for myself. So I'm not going to argue either way. What I'm going to say is, either way, there's no point spending your life talking about it. It's shit. It's a distraction. It's, as Matt from Quantum of Conscience says, pissed on breadcrumbs. Stop wasting your life on bullshit. Is it going to make you rich? Is it going to financially for you? Is it going to make your life free? Which unfortunately in this world does mean financially free. No, it's not. It's not going to sort your shit out. It's not going to solve your problems. It's not going to fix your relationship. So stop wasting time. Don't focus on things that are effectively designed to make you not be productive with respect to your life. Yeah. Buy Bitcoin, accumulate Bitcoin. Projects like mine, I got asked the other day, oh, I want to put a few 100,000 in, so I put it into your project. And of course the CEO would hate me saying this, but I always say the same thing. I don't give a fuck if it's my project or someone else's. Never put more than 5% of your portfolio into any one project, and it has to be a fucking good project, with the exception of Bitcoin. It's the only one to ever put such a massive amount of your crypto portfolio into. I'd say the same with metals. Try stick to, it's annoying hauling around a shitload of silver. So I would say try to stick to a 40-40. If you're gonna do three metals and platinum being one of them, I wouldn't. Even though I did buy palladium, by the way, I sold it out at a very good margin, I think 3 times. That's enough for me. I don't need any more. I wanted to cash out. I didn't want to cash out Bitcoin at the time. It was better to do that. I don't believe in palladium overall because I don't think its uses are extensive enough, and I don't think that the Chinese market will require catalytic converters for the same understanding that speculative investors do. So I think that market will dry up and people get burned. I think the safe bets are always going to be platinum, gold, and silver, right? And that's why I actually I've completely sold out my position in palladium. Anyway, what you do, and in my opinion, is 20% in silver, because of how bulky and heavy it is. It probably might make bigger percentage gains than gold. I don't see it making bigger percentage gains long term. After the banks collapse and all the manipulation ends and things get their true intrinsic and extrinsic values, I believe you'll probably have platinum on top of gold again. Where it should be. I really believe that's where it belongs eternally, and so silver somewhere probably around $1,000. When I say $1,000, I'm talking about current spend value of dollar. Where we're probably going to end up where it'll probably be somewhere between 1,000 to 10,000 spend value per ounce, and for gold somewhere between 10,000 to 100,000 per ounce. Platinum should be the same or slightly more, right? That's where my guesses are. Same as Bitcoin, I'd say somewhere between. Of course, it's going to overtake and become $1 million, but at that stage, the $1 million will be worth fuck all. So you can't look at things in this way. You have to look at it current spend value, what you can buy with $1 right now. So I'd say that Bitcoin, given the fact it'll only be around about, let's say, after the time of fully mining it, the 21 million Bitcoins they'll probably only accessible. We'll be lucky if it's 16 million, right? Of course, there's a lot of decimal places there. It still can compensate for the full world money supply, and I do believe that most of that will empty into Bitcoin and other currencies, especially private coins, but they can be knocked off the shelf. But as soon as you bring back, as soon as you enable privacy on Bitcoin again, which can be done, and increase the block size when it needs to be done, doesn't need to be done yet, then you will have Bitcoin's already been invented. You don't look how long money is the fiat currency is sit along for, and we haven't even come up with a better idea since Bitcoin. Believe me, the better idea of crypto does not need to be even invented yet. We already found the right thing. The infrastructure needs to be improved to cope with it. It already exists. This is why Ripple's a ridiculously stupid fucking idea. This is why, unfortunately, Bitcoin Cash and every other Bitcoin fork is a fucking stupid idea too, with the possible exception only for trading value of Bitcoin Hex, because it filters out the... it sits on the Ethereum blockchain. So I actually asked Richard Hart the other day why they chose the Ethereum, but it's just because the hashing power. Which obviously means you don't have to build your own mining pool. I think I need to look into it a little bit more. To be honest, I don't want to pretend to be all knowledgeable in that one, because I'm actually waiting for word from their team and never seem to get anywhere from anyone except for him. So I just see it as a good trader mechanism to get rid of the other what's it called? The other altcoins that are forks, because they suffer from the same issues as Bitcoin does, which is the MT Gox thief, who's sponsored by the Japanese and American, and I'm sure American governments now can say that. I'm not living in America, because I'm pretty sure they actually assassinated MT Gox on behalf of the banksters. So here we go. Oh, I really love this beer, man. One of my favorites. Anyway, my point being now, where was I before? Oh yeah, about the gold and silver and stuff. So silver, my position has always been around about the give or take 20% silver. Mine's around 60 gold, 40. Yeah, about 60-40 gold to platinum. If I hadn't moved into, I shifted my focus in 2011 over to cryptocurrencies, I would have carried on buying. I would have, especially in 2017 or 16, I think it was, when platinum sunk under gold. I would have been accumulating a shitload more platinum. You know, when I went down at $700 and something, I mean, that's stupidly cheap for a platinum. You're talking about, I think there's 3.5 Olympic swimming pools full of gold in the world, and there's more getting discovered all the time. There's only less than 1 Olympic swimming pool full of platinum, and it could potentially have more uses, especially in electronics. But then again, silver fills the electronics requirements anyway, more than people give it credit for. So, which is why silver could make bigger gains. I do believe platinum will too, just because of the rarity and the fact of its utility as well. But because we do have Bitcoin, and it is I mean, the shit I've gone through to move gold around, and this is the thing, you gold guys, because I am a gold bug too, so don't give me any shit about this. Oh, you just, you get these schools of thought, you're either this or that. No, you can be both, you can be all, right? I believe in real estate. I just don't believe in it right now. I don't believe, you need to know where you need to settle after these governments get bullshit and a lot of them collapse. Then you find out where you want to settle, because you do not own land. Anyone who's ever decided not to pay their rates because of a dispute with their council will learn that you will never own the land as long as you live in a country, all of our fascist nations that we have, where they exert their control over us against our will. We don't choose. We don't opt in to their system. We just are born from the right or the wrong vagina, and then our life is determined from there in most cases, with the possible exception of a small handful of people who really make their fortune because they learn to play the system, like myself. Whether it be multiple businesses that I've done and people like me have done over the years, you just constantly get on the horse. Some people just, I just want an easy life. Oh, I'm so knackered after work. All I want to do is relax. Then you'll always be a slave, because you don't have the wherewithal to dig yourself out of that hole. All you're saying is, right, I'm just scrambling up the wall. Oh, it's been tiring scrambling up that wall. I think I'll go settle back in the hole again and stay in the hole. That's what you're doing. You're not doing anything. anything to get yourself out of it. And I'm not going to feel sorry for people that, again, it seems I'm not going to feel sorry for people. If I spend hours showing you stuff and you have the option of looking at it, cross-referencing what I'm saying, because I'm not just sitting spouting shit in my head. I always say stuff that can be cross-referenced. If you can't be bothered doing that, then fuck off out my face, because I can't. Go be fodder. Go be cannon fodder for their you know, their terrorist forces that they send out to do stuff on their behalf. It's not the soldiers' fault. It's people. A lot of them are too dumb to realize what they're doing, or realize later in their career what they've done. And who they've served, and it is not justice, it's not good. You realize what you've really been serving is corporations, and because the governments serve the corporations, and the corporations want oil generally, or some other resource like water in the case of Nestle, right? So the only thing you can do, if you are a lazy person, especially if you're a person who can't be bothered, doesn't have the common sense or the fortitude to start a business and grow it, and to take on big projects and actually bring them forward and actually make something out of nothing, then the only thing I can advise you to do, yes, advice, fuck you people out there with your, oh, no, this is not financial advice, this is financial advice, this is new world financial advice, not old world financial advice, because those economists, those three guys that CBS roll out all the time, those Nobel winning economists, I don't know, no one knows what Bitcoin is. You cannot be an economist and not know what Bitcoin is. You're a fucking retard, right? And that's the thing most of those guys are. They are schooled in a rigged system. They're not schooled in a real system that has to stand up against real things. And real things are coming. So the only thing I can say is jump on the bandwagon and wait. Don't put in money that you can't afford to go without for a while, because then your weak ass will end up selling out of it as soon as your FOMO kicks in, or as soon as for missing out on something else, or as soon as your fear kicks in, from FUD that's been spread in the media that's designed to fuck your life up, and you shouldn't even be watching it. So buy Bitcoin, forget about it. Buy what you can afford. Buy 20 Satoshis if that's all you can afford. I don't give a fuck, whatever it is. Because it'll be worth hundreds and thousands of times what it's worth right now, because that's where the money supply is going to empty into. And to some extent, the gold bonds and all these sort of things, when people find out how to extract the money without making the system collapse, because it's all built on false gold that doesn't even exist, those systems, derivatives, and all these sort of things will also empty in that market. So it won't be just 90.4 trillion of worth of wealth. But yeah, all these other markets, they will have part of that wealth that will empty into once people realize, shit, this is easier to get through borders with. This is easier to spend globally on stuff that I can buy, and you know, not that I'm into global purchasing, because most things can be made locally, but even just the utility of being able to purchase something across your own country should be allowed. You know what I mean? It should be possible. As far as purchasing stuff globally, I just think things should be purchased locally. Support your local markets. If you did that, you wouldn't have companies like Nestle who are creating ecological disasters nowhere near where they're. I'm actually on my way to Switzerland right now, Interlaken. Nowhere near where their country is. Yeah, let's shit in your backyard because mine has nice furniture in it. That's the attitude of some of these corporations. There is no beating them at this stage. All you can do is make your life better, and then eventually join a collective of people who made their life better and collectively have power to still not maybe even overthrow these assholes, but at least you can get away, be powerful enough that they won't fuck with you, and make, which I plan to do, which is effectively a floating sea base, which basically can have purge tanks to submerge. I want to make it out of graphene, like graphene fiber. Well, not graphene fiber, you know what I mean, like graphene, but made like carbon fiber, you know. So it would submerge below, far below the level of ships, so you can basically stay in the ocean and have boys that come up and flash, and then basically resubmerge again when the weather's good. That's to hide from storms, effectively. So it would be a submersible village, city, God, who knows, you can make it however you want. So I've got a lot of designs in my head for that. I'd like to do that one day once I get the money. I'd like to do low orbit satellites. I'd like to do a lot of things, basically the long wingspan planes that allow you to get you know, your signals out and allow you to do communication path. Everything should be off grid. We don't have any reason to be on the grid. I've proven this with this bank of batteries down here. You see down here, 24.38 volts right now. I've got 6 batteries down there that you can't really see them because they sink down into. There's a whole bunch of truck batteries in there. So that's like this. It's like the system they use for, what do you call it? Tesla selling back to the grid. You know, that house battery. And then I got my heat pump and air conditioning unit up there. You know, there's everything that a tiny house has in here. There's everything. I have everything that they have as well. But I'm not stuck with some fucking asshole council who's going to tell me, hey, we're going to increase rates this year because we can. And if you don't pay them, we're going to take your fucking house. Because that's what happened. Well, that's what was going to happen to me in New Zealand when I made a protest thing not to pay rates on land. They were going to appropriate my land and then give it away for pennies in the dollar as long as you would make up the unpaid rates. We've seen this happening all over the world. We've seen it in Detroit, for example. I know it's economic stimulus because you don't want places to go empty and decrepit, but hey, if you didn't fuck those people's lives in the first place, they would be still living in those houses. If you didn't pollute the water supply in Flint, Michigan, you know, just for the sake of profit, for some bastards to take money off and give it to a super PAC, which might be the truth and might not be the truth, we'll see. Basically, it's not just America and shitting, right? It's everywhere. Even places like Iceland that jailed the banksters, right? And therefore recovered very quickly, and hence CNN, Fox and MSNBC and BBC will never ever show anything about it, stopped reporting on it. As soon as they had economic recovery in 2012, and we didn't, because we didn't jail the banksters, they became country non grata as far as the news is concerned. People need to really start waking up to this. You can watch CNN, you can see 3 news stories getting recycled over an hour with hype and just shameless hype. Effective advertorials on their so-called news. Fox doing the same shit. RT shows a lot of stuff, so they probably got like 10 times as many news stories per hour. Some of them are still tainted towards Russian version of things versus the American version of things. Russian propaganda. No, all of them have propaganda, right? But what doesn't seem to have propaganda, and it would appear to me that people like Max Kaiser and Chris Hedges and Lee Camp, all these people in RT, have been given free rein to tell the truth about the world, just not the full truth about Russia. Fair enough, I can handle that. Because if every country did that, and CNN allowed you to allowed their own, not their own news, but their news shows that they actually allowed to go on their platform to add value to their platform. That's what the RT does. Then what you would end up having is America's allowed version of events that can say bad stuff about Russia, and you could actually look at all the news and put them all together and work out what's going on. Right now you can't do that because it's all a corporate agenda and media, right? So and the only place you can do it is places like Zero Hedge and a whole. I used to say things like Canary and Vox, but you can't trust these things anymore. They've all been infiltrated. You can see by the NPR's a joke. So I mean, some sources I used to trust I no longer trust. And but that's a good thing. Constantly question. I constantly make sure. I mean, I don't always trust RT. I sometimes get pissed off with certain things on there. When even Max and Stacey, when they some narratives look like they're forcing a narrative too much, which isn't their style. Don't like it. It wasn't anyway. So yeah, never take anything at face value. Even if your chosen deity gets in power, don't stop criticizing them because they're meant to be there. They're your servant. Criticize your servants so they get better. They're taking money from you, for fuck's sakes. And I'm only saying this because I don't even believe they should even exist in the first place, being your servant, because we don't need them. Right? We're at a stage of technology we do not need government at all. They're a net loss. And I will guarantee in the comment section below, you want to mention anything that you believe that we really need government for, and I'll explain to you exactly. I don't even know what the argument is yet, but can guarantee you, I can promise you, I'll give you an argument as to why they're a net negative in this situation, whether it's jailing pedophiles or whatever it may be. I'll show you how they're a net negative and how they do not add any value whatsoever. If you take the negative effects they have, they're an overall drain. All right, that's about it. I'm going to be going around a few countries in Europe. I'm going to Tel Aviv soon. Yada yada yada. All right, speak to you soon. Yeah, this has been the Bitcoin Roadshow. I've been Craig, you've been you. Bye.